Procrastination. Just hearing the word makes most of us uncomfortable. We know it too well. That moment when you have an important task to finish, a deadline approaching, or a personal goal you've been wanting to start, and instead you find yourself scrolling through social media, reorganizing your desk, or binge-watching another episode of a show you've already seen 3 times. We laugh at procrastination, we make memes about it, but deep down, most of us feel frustrated and even ashamed about it. Why do we keep delaying the very things we know we need to do? And more importantly, how do we stop? Let's be clear. Procrastination is not laziness. People often confuse the two, but they're very different. Laziness is when you simply don't want to put in effort, period. Procrastination, on the other hand, is when you fully intend to do something, you even care about it, but you avoid it anyway. You push it off to later, even when you know it will only make things harder. And here's the paradox. Procrastinators aren't people who don't care. They often care too much. They're anxious, perfectionistic, or overwhelmed, and that makes them freeze. Procrastination isn't about not doing anything, it's about not doing the thing you most need to do. Psychologists describe procrastination as a form of self-regulation failure. In other words, your brain struggles to manage discomfort in the present moment. You see, when we face a challenging task, our brain evaluates it through 2 lenses. How much reward will this bring me? And how much discomfort will I have to go through? If the discomfort feels bigger than the reward, at least in the short term, we delay. That's procrastination in action. It's our brain choosing short-term mood repair over long-term goals. We avoid the task not because it's impossible, but because it feels uncomfortable, boring, overwhelming, or anxiety-inducing. And so, we trade future stress for temporary relief. This explains why procrastination feels so irrational. You know you're only making things worse, you know the deadline is coming, you know future you will be angry and stressed, and yet you still put it off. Why? Because present you is the one in control, and present you is focused on reducing discomfort right now. In a way, procrastination is a kind of time travel mistake. It sacrifices the future for the present. We think we're giving ourselves a break, but really, we're setting ourselves up for more pain later. Now let's dig into the psychology behind it. Researchers have identified several reasons why we procrastinate, and they often overlap. One big factor is perfectionism. If you believe your work has to be flawless, you may be terrified to even start. You tell yourself, what if it's not good enough? That fear can paralyze you. So instead of facing the discomfort of imperfection, you delay. Another factor is fear of failure. If you never start, you can technically not fail. Procrastination becomes a way of protecting your self-esteem. But of course, it only makes things worse. Another reason is lack of structure. Humans love clarity. When tasks feel vague, like get healthy or write that report, your brain doesn't know where to begin. Vague goals feel overwhelming, so you avoid them. Compare that to a clear, specific task like go for a 20-minute walk or write the first paragraph. Suddenly, the task feels more doable, and you're more likely to start. That's why big goals often stay stuck in the procrastination zone. They're too abstract, and your brain panics. Emotions play a huge role too. Procrastination isn't about poor time management, it's about poor mood management. Think about it. When you're stressed, tired, or anxious, even simple tasks can feel impossible. Your brain craves escape from negative feelings, so you push the task aside and distract yourself. But of course, that distraction is temporary, and the problem still waits for you, often bigger than before. There's also the dopamine factor. Our brains are wired to seek quick rewards. Scrolling social media, checking notifications, watching videos, all of these release little bursts of dopamine, the brain's feel-good chemical. Starting a big project, on the other hand, doesn't give you instant rewards. It might even feel painful at first. So naturally, your brain wants the easy dopamine hit instead of the delayed satisfaction. That's why procrastination feels so tempting. It's literally your brain chasing a chemical high. Now let's talk about the consequences. On the surface, procrastination might seem harmless, just a little delay, but over time it can damage almost every area of your life. Academically, procrastinators tend to get lower grades. Professionally, they miss deadlines, lose opportunities, or fail to live up to their potential. Personally, procrastination creates stress, guilt, and shame. And psychologically, it fuels anxiety, low self-esteem, and even depression. Because every time you procrastinate, you reinforce the belief that you can't trust yourself. You break promises to yourself, and that slowly erodes your confidence. But here's the good news. Procrastination is not a permanent trait. It's a habit, and like any habit, it can be changed. The key is not to beat yourself up, but to understand what's really happening in your brain and to develop strategies that work with it, not against it. So, how do we stop procrastinating? First, start by noticing your triggers. What tasks do you tend to put off? Is it writing, cleaning, making phone calls? Usually, procrastination isn't random. It follows patterns. Once you know your triggers, you can start addressing them. For example, if perfectionism is driving your procrastination, remind yourself that done is better than perfect. Perfection is an illusion, and waiting for the perfect moment or perfect idea is just another form of delay. Another strategy is to break tasks into small, concrete steps. Instead of saying, "I need to write this entire report," tell yourself, "I'll write one sentence." Sounds silly, but it works. Because once you start, momentum builds. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect. Our brains don't like unfinished tasks. Starting creates a mental tension that pushes you to keep going. So the hardest part is often just starting. Shrink the task down until it feels impossible to avoid. You can also use the 2-minute rule. If something takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Reply to that email, wash that dish, fold that shirt. These little wins create momentum and reduce mental clutter. For bigger tasks, commit to just 2 minutes of work. Tell yourself, "I'll just work on this for 2 minutes." Once you start, you'll often keep going. Starting is the battle. Finishing becomes easier. Another helpful tool is time blocking. Set aside specific times for specific tasks and treat them like appointments. Instead of vaguely planning to work on something later, give it a place in your schedule. Our brains love structure, and when you commit to a time, you're more likely to follow through. Pair this with removing distractions. Silence your phone, close extra tabs, and create a space where your brain knows it's time to focus. But even with strategies, mindset matters most. Stop expecting yourself to feel motivated before you start. Motivation usually comes after you begin, not before. Waiting to feel ready is just another form of procrastination. Instead, build discipline. Do the thing first and let motivation catch up. It's also crucial to practice self-compassion. Beating yourself up for procrastinating only makes it worse. It increases stress and negative emotions, which fuel more procrastination. Instead, acknowledge it without judgment. Say, "Okay, I procrastinated today. Why? What was I feeling? What can I try differently tomorrow?" Self-compassion turns mistakes into learning opportunities instead of endless guilt cycles. Finally, remember that procrastination is part of being human. Everyone does it sometimes. The goal isn't to eliminate it completely, it's to reduce its power over your life. You don't need to become a productivity machine. You just need to build habits that help you follow through on the things that matter most. Imagine this. Instead of feeling constant guilt, you start building trust with yourself. You make small promises and you keep them. Over time, that creates confidence. You learn that you can rely on yourself. That's the real victory over procrastination, not doing everything perfectly, but showing up consistently. And that's how you turn procrastination from a life-sucking habit into just an occasional slip. So, the next time you catch yourself saying, "I'll do it later," pause. Ask yourself, what am I really avoiding right now? Is it discomfort, fear, or boredom? Then remind yourself, future you deserves better. Take the first tiny step, because once you start, you take back control. And little by little, step by step, you'll build the momentum to keep going. Procrastination doesn't define you. It's just a habit. And with awareness, compassion, and the right strategies, you can break free from it. Remember, it's not about being perfect, it's about progress. And progress starts with action, today, not tomorrow.